the Inhumans series premiere, Behold the Inhumans and Those Who Would Destroy Us. Now, of course, going into this, I think, like everyone who didn't see it at IMAX, if you're interested in the show, you probably heard all the reviews about how it's like, oh, this is crappy, the visuals, the wig and stuff, which is just, the wig was just bad. But it was just like everyone was saying, this isn't good, and I was just thinking, man, this show is done before it even actually ends up coming out. Like, it's going to get canceled. It'll be one of those things where it's like, we have all our shows with like all the popular characters, but I always love when they have, lesser known characters and they become more popular. So I was really looking forward to this because I'm not super familiar with the Inhumans. I know like the main characters and their abilities, but I'm not the most familiar with them. So I was very excited because I was like, I want this to work just because it's not like, oh, here's another X-Men show. It's like, I know 100 million things about those characters. It's new characters, at least, they're newer to me. So I was hoping going into this that I would really enjoy it. And I thought it was okay. I don't think it was nearly as bad as people were saying. I was getting worried because everything was just like, it was average and this and that. Aside from the wig, which is just plain bad, the CG for the hair, which I just don't think you can do CG hair. I don't know what's going to happen when they eventually go to Medusa getting her hair back. I don't know if they're going to make that natural or how that's supposed to play out, because they do the whole hair cutting thing, which is like, oddly enough, probably the most dramatic haircutting sequence ever, and the second one being V for Vendetta. But I don't know if that's going to be like an actual natural thing where she's legitimately growing her hair, or if they're just going to go like time skip and poof, she's got the crappy wig again. So I don't know exactly what that means, because that was a huge complaint just from the poster. It's like, that hair looks terrible, and it did. So I'm very curious how that's going to play out, because that was such a huge point of contention for people long before the show came out. And it's almost like they knew that. It was like, let's just do this crappy wig so she has long hair and we cut the effing hair off, and then she'll like naturally grow her hair back, which would take forever for it to get that long. So I really don't know how they plan on doing that, because it's literally like Medusa's character is that her power is to control her own hair. So it's interesting, but at the same time it just makes her like a normal character a little bit. So I mean, I'm sure it'll play into the story, but it's just like, man, that's one of the characters with superpowers, and they're just like, superpower gone. So it was kind of weird to me, but if it means we get a better wig, I guess I'm okay with it. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But, aside from the crappy wig, I personally thought everything was cool with these first two episodes. I can see why people wouldn't like it a lot. I know some people, if you go on Twitter, of course, some people hated it within like the first couple minutes, first 15. And going through it, I was like, I'm okay with this. It's getting to know these new characters. Personally, I felt it moved a bit faster than I was expecting, because I didn't think that it was going to end, with the second episode where it's like, yep, the royal family's out there, main villain's taking over the city, they're out there all spread out, because apparently Lockjaw he just be dropping folks wherever. It's just like, you're in the state, I'm out. So everybody's all split up and everything, but I was surprised it ended up, even going that fast. So, I thought that was interesting, but I actually liked the way they did it. They had a fairly simple explanation of like the whole city is like this, the king, this is the queen, king's brother, king can't speak. I knew about the power, so none of that really changed up for me. But it was like, all right, these are the characters, this is the official royal family, cousins here, brothers there, all that stuff. And then it kind of went into some of the stuff with Terrigenesis, which obviously, ties a bit into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that. But it was fairly decent. It was like, I personally thought a fairly good way to introduce everything is like, yep, they're on the moon. They introduced this human character who's a scientist, and she is a part of this whole thing with the rover, and it's like, it looks like a hoof, and like that's her whole story, is that they were investigating that, and then she ends up finding Black Bolt. She sees him like, it's television, so of course she conveniently shows up in the state exactly as they're giving the news story about him, and it's like, he seemed to appear out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, that's what I was looking for like however long she was doing her thing. There was really no great span of time, because they were just on the moon, and it was always daylight, so it was like, I don't really know the span of time throughout the episode, but I'm like, it had to have been quite a bit of time. Like, I think it should have been at least like a day or two, but it seemed like it was all in one day. But they go through and they kind of introduce her story, and I'm curious what they're going to do with her. I almost don't really give a crap, but maybe this will be how they decide to tie things in a little bit to, well, depending on how well the show ends up doing, tying it into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and how, however that's going to play out. But she seems to be like the human connection for the royal family trapped on Earth right now, and somehow she'll end up, rounding everybody up, and it's like, hey, this is what Earth is like, you guys don't have to be scared, and this and that, and I'll help you. I feel like that's where her character is going to end up being. And then, with the whole Inhumans thing already being a part of the characters, or a part of the world, I am curious how that's going to be integrated, where it's like, hey, here are the rest of the Inhumans, like the original Inhumans who are on the moon, which this is another issue. I saw this on Twitter, but it shows up like every time anything Marvel based happens outside of the movies, because they do it in the Netflix shows as well. It's like, this thing happened. It's like, that's crazy. It's like, aliens attack New York. Why is anything crazy anymore? Like, every time I hear that in the Marvels, like any Marvel show, I'm like, that's stupid that somebody just said that that's crazy. It's like, everyone talks about the New York stuff, no matter what show it is. And then someone's like, I do this thing. And it's like, that sounds weird to me. It's like, what are you talking about? You sound dumb. So for whatever reason, the guy was like, something on the moon. I just don't think that sounds logical. So, that was just a random little moment. But they always do that where it's like, that just seems crazy. It's like, everyone knows what happened in New York. They have a million different things. It just doesn't make sense why anyone ever doubts anything that could happen. It's just like, you should be like, probably. Like, everyone should just say, that's not that crazy. Like, nothing's that crazy anymore. But random little moment there. But I'm curious to see what they do with her character. She didn't really have that much of a role, but I feel like that's what it's going to be. She's going to be like this weird pseudo-ambassador once the characters ultimately end up coming together. But as far as the actual royal family, I like what they did with them. Black Bolt, doing his thing. Obviously he can't really speak. They did a great little show of force with his abilities towards the end of the episode. Also, like in the middle, when they show how he killed his parents, I didn't realize it was gonna look like that. I always thought it was, from what I've seen, because he's been in some of the animated shows. I always thought it was like seismic based. And maybe it is at certain points. I don't know if he can control like that sort of deal. I just always assumed it was like sonic boom. That's how it is. But apparently the sonic boom is so much more intense than I ever expected. Because I thought, oh, he killed his parents. They got blown into the wall and they were crushed. That's what I thought was going to happen. I didn't think, they're 3 feet away. So when he spoke, they just went and turned to ash. And I was like, well, that was really dark. Because they were just gone and he was just like stuck there. And then just they do like the little spin. And you just see ash like against the wall. I was like, man, that was actually depressing. Because he was just like, I think he said like why or something. They were talking to him. And it was just like, they're dead. I was like, that's a little bit effed up. Like, that's like his parents just died and he's just like, I killed my parents and also here are my powers. I can never speak again. So that was very interesting. I was like, that was a dark little moment there. But I like what they did with the characters. They show off everybody's different personality fairly well. Like Black Bolt, Medusa, Gorgon, him being like, once they have that moment where it's like, Trident is killed, although I'm assuming he'll show up alive somewhere down the line. Gorgon is mad at him. It's like, I should have been the one to go on this mission. Obviously, he can't swim, which we find out that is exactly why he didn't end up going on that mission, because it's Hawaii. But I liked him. I can't remember the other guy's name, who's like the super genius character. I loved what they did with him during the actual coup section, and they like show how he actually sees things. The martial arts, the action specifically, I was like, felt a little slow. But the scene itself I thought was pretty cool, because I was like, oh, that's exactly what he sees. And we see, like the different lines and the paths and the compasses and stuff like that. And that's what he sees in his head before he does anything physically. I was like, that's actually super awesome. So I love that. They kind of mess with his character when he actually gets on the island and he falls and hits his head. And it like completely screws up like his abilities, which I thought he was one character, and I guess he is. I don't believe he's technically not supposed to have powers, but I guess they're like, no, he's just got powers. Because I think he is just supposed to be like insanely smart. I think that's all he's really supposed to be. But they definitely made it seem like that's a legitimate, superpower. Like he literally like walks around the room and stuff. Granted, you could just say that's him being super smart as well, but it seemed like the way they kind of portrayed it, I was like, that seems like it's just legitimately like his power in this. So, we'll see exactly how that ends up playing out, but I believe that's the character who, technically speaking, isn't supposed to have like a different, type of ability. It's just like being super smart. But definitely cool. Love the visuals for that. Curious to see where they go with his character, with him, being trapped because he like walked in the circle and it's like, oh man, my brain's effed up because I fell off a rock, which really confused me, because the whole point of his character being like insanely epically smart was that he could pretty much do anything and he should be totally fine. But I guess he can't account for everything. I don't know. It just seemed weird to me, like he's climbing on these rocks. I just thought that would be easy. And then he fell and bashed his head in and he was knocked out for a little while. So he's all left up. We'll see how that plays out. But it was cool. I like what they did with the characters. Like I said, I like the, the simple display of the characters, their emotions, and how they interact with each other. Obviously, we have our king and, well, I guess he wasn't the prince, but the king's brother. I can't think of his name. I suck at names, so eventually I'll get it because there's only like 5 people that are going to matter in this show. Period. Um, but yeah, him being the villain, I thought that was very simple. It was just like, he's mad. His brother kind of screws up a little bit. And it was super fast. That was the part where I was like, this is actually quick. You know how it ends with the coup and everything's already said and done. It was like the first episode, he's just like, he takes the 2 kids who got their abilities, and it was just, this guy randomly speaks to him and was like, you didn't have powers, you should be down here with us. And he went into like his coup speech, and I was like, this is like 15 minutes in, and he's already just like, we should go to Earth. Everybody join me. And I was like, that's weird. I wasn't expecting him to, I didn't think they would like start so far into him already rebelling against his own brother. But keeps the pace going, so I was totally fine with it, because they would have just been up there talking and literally doing nothing if that were the case. So I was totally fine with it. I was just really surprised. I was like, oh, I didn't expect them to go straight into it. I thought they would have some other conflict that would go wrong, and then, as time progressed, that's what would lead his brother to, becoming the villain. But it was just there. Like, they already went through the random issues. It was like, we can't have more people. We should go down to Earth. All that stuff. Once the Earthlings find us, they'll, of course, try to kill us. So they kind of just kicked it off real fast, and I was, like I said, I was totally fine with it. I was just surprised that it was so fast. But I like what they're doing with it. I like, so far, how the characters are still split up. Medusa's sister, other character whose name I can't remember. Love her powers, the elemental abilities. I think that's cool. Her and Lockjaw. It seemed like, based on the promo, the guy who's like super genius, he eventually makes it back to Adelan, so we'll see how that plays out. But that was a cool little sequence, nice little camera trick there. But I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I thought it was pretty cool. Love the sequence with Black Bolt where he takes the suit and the woman's talking to him and he's just like, and he just walks out like, see ya. And the expressions he was making were cracking me. Like, his whole sequence from that point to him just getting like just beat to nothingness was cracking me up. I mean, technically nothing happened because the dude has like, for anyone who doesn't know, he's got the voice thing, he's got insane endurance, insane super strength. He's like one of the most powerful characters in Marvel, but they kind of toned it down here. They showed the super strength a little, because I was wondering if they'd even put it in there. It would be crazy if they didn't, but it was like halfway through the first episode, I was like, we haven't really seen him do much. So, he leaves out, and the dude tries to stop him, and he just like, and just twists his hand, and then he's just walking, and he's just beating up cops, and then they just start beating him. Like, the one cop, like, it shouldn't be funny, but it made me laugh, because it was just like, it's like some real life stuff. They're just beating the crap out of this dude, and like the one cop was just like kicking him and angry in slow motion. I was like, why did they show it like that? It made me laugh. But I thought that was just a funny moment. And then, of course, they're just like losing it every time he takes the cuffs off. They freak out and stuff. But eventually he calms down. They take his picture. He gets arrested, which obviously isn't going to last, and he's going to break out. They show that in the promo. So he's going to break out of there. Everybody's still split up. Medusa has her fight with the, I guess she's basically like the new captain of the Royal Guard. And that was a crazy little moment too. Like, there's some stuff they didn't hear that I really liked, because she steals that knife and she just like prison shanked her, where she's like, I'm like the queen and stuff, and she stabbed her and seemingly killed her. And then I guess it's a part of her ability to, like, it just takes a long time to heal or whatever, because she pops up at the end and then she completely heals her wounds with like, it was almost like sort of like a chi move sort of thing with her hands, and then healed herself up. It was like, I need backup, and then that's the end of the episode. So personally, thought it was fairly decent. Definitely not as crappy as I was expecting it to be. I didn't think it was crappy at all, to be totally honest. But like I said, I could certainly see why some people might not like it. But I thought it was fine. Aside from that wig, aside from the CG hair, Lockjaw is just weird, because it's like, it's hard to ever do one CG thing in the real world. It always looks off. Plus, it's a giant CG dog, so of course it looks off. But it's like, it's not that big of a deal to me. The hair it's just bad all around. The wig was bad when it was real. It was worse when it was fake. The little weird hair fight sequence, I just thought looked weird, because I'm like, she has actual hands and they know she can use her hair. They were like just running right up on her. I'm like, this just doesn't even make sense. But interesting moment, led to, like I said, the most dramatic hair cutting sequence ever that I've seen. At least I don't know about you guys, but still thought it was interesting, and I am excited to see where this goes. I hope it works. I always hope that any nerdy comic thing works. I'm going to watch Gifted when that comes on Monday. I hope that works too. Seems like it might be a little bit too much drama. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out with it being Fox. But yeah, I thought this was a decent set of, or decent premiere, first 2 episodes, and I'm looking forward to where we go. Want to see more action, which it seems like that's going to be a big part of the next episode. I don't know how well the show is going to do with it premiering on Fridays. That's already like a dead slot. That's like what everyone always says in TV is like, if you're on Fridays, oh, that sucks because everyone goes out on Friday night. So I'm like, they're like setting the show up to fail already. Everyone's already talking about how it sucks, you know, obviously before the initial premiere. And then it's like, yep, regular. I thought this was like, because they talk about like it's a special premiere, and then like, yep, regular time next Friday. I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be like an actual different day. This was just a special little thing. But it was like, nope, actually on Friday. So I don't know. That's just a TV thing. So that worries me. Of course, you know, things have changed a little bit with DVR and how, you know, viewings are tracked over like the next 3 days after the initial airing. So it might not be too bad, especially with the weekend. It might, you know, allow people to have that chance. But that worried me. I was just like, oh, this already started off with in a bit of a rough patch, and then it's like definitely coming on Fridays. So that worries me, admittedly. I think it's a good show personally, but not everybody thinks that, and it's on Friday, so it definitely freaks me out. Like, I just don't know if this show's going to make it, but I hope it does. Personally, like I said, I enjoyed these first 2 episodes, and I think it definitely has potential to get better, so I'm looking forward to it. But of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about the premiere, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. Obviously, if you are a fan of the Inhumans, would love to know your opinion on these first 2 episodes, how they've represented the characters, powers, personality, just visually, well, obviously the wig. But yeah, we'd love to know what you guys think. And if you're not familiar with the Inhumans, you're kind of like in between like I am, or you're just very fresh start for you. We'd love to know how you guys feel they kind of portrayed the characters. Because like I said, I feel they did a fairly decent job in the first part, and then the rest of it was like, all right, we introduced them, now rebellion and story and stuff like that, and crazy aesthetics. Aside from the crappy wig, all of Adelan looked really, really cool. Everything was just like crazy shapes. It was all abstract art like the whole way through. A lot of design didn't make sense. Like the main villain, like I said, I have to remember his name. But when he went to like kill off the scientists after he got like the second vision from the kid, he goes into this room and it's like just empty space in the middle of the wall, so the guards can just like put their guns right there. And I was like, that looks really cool, but that's such odd design. But the whole place, like every time they showed Adelan, I was like, there's just weird triangles and shapes all over the place. I thought it aesthetically looked amazing, and it kind of sucks that they're going, you know, I hope we get to see a lot of Adelan, because I was like, that looks really cool. And I love that they're in Hawaii as well, because that just doesn't ever happen, so I think that should be cool too. But like I said, want to know what you guys think about these first 2 episodes, if you're looking forward to the rest of the series, if you just thought, this sucked, don't care if it ends. We'd love to know what you guys think, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.